Today, I am joined by my dear friend Katie Metzler. Katie, thanks for being here today.
Hi, Kate. It's so good to see you.
Yes, I know we were chatting a little bit before this call, but yeah, it's really good to just reconnect with you and excited to ask you a few questions about the Enneagram.
Yeah, it's such a treat. I'm excited.
So, first question for you, Katie, is could you just tell everyone who is viewing or listening what your Enneagram type is and how you would describe it in your own words?
Yeah, so I am, my Enneagram is a 3 with a wing 2, but I do feel like I identify more with the 3. And to me, well, that it's defined as the achiever. And to me, it is just, I feel like it describes me perfect, just constantly striving for achievement. That's how I see value in myself, both in like a healthy way and an unhealthy way. I find my value through achieving things, through what people think about me, through the things I do every day, the things that I can put on my CV or my applications. That is what kind of like surface level what the achiever is to me.
Thanks for sharing, Katie. How did you discover your Enneagram type and just like what was that journey like for you?
Yeah, so I think I did it in my early 20s, which we were just talking about was like yesterday, but it was 9 years ago. But I was on just like a self-discover journey. I was a pre-med. I was trying to figure out myself. I did all of these personal tests. I did the Enneagram, I did my Myers-Briggs. I got really into astrology. So all of these ways to discover myself. And so part of that was doing the Enneagram, obviously. And I got my type, which was wing 3 or Enneagram type 3. And it resonated with me more than anything. But I was like, okay, I see myself. This is me. And I actually redid it this morning before our talk. And it was the same thing, but I feel like I have approached the life just a little bit differently. So it's interesting that I was an achiever in my early 20s, and I obviously was a little bit more tenacious. I was just thinking about how I've developed so much since then, and especially in my like achiever and their Enneagram. Like when I was a pre-med, you remember me, I was working constantly. I was like constantly trying to find like the next big thing that I could do, filling out my CV. And I still feel that same way now, but I feel a little bit more at peace with myself, although it's still underlying.
When you say you feel at peace with yourself, like tell me a little bit more about what that means for you or how you've seen that shift.
Yeah, I think it's more just confidence in myself and in my journey and in my achievements. And maybe it's because I've achieved my goals. Like I was a pre-med, I really was wanting to go to med school. Now I'm in medical school. All my dreams are more at reach. So I don't feel like I'm constantly having to go after things and collect achievements like I would with like little Pokemon. But I do feel like I'm a little bit more just like at peace with myself, with my insecurities, with the way that I interact with people. I'm not as much as a people pleaser as I used to be. I don't necessarily need like external validation as much as I did. I do still require quite a bit of like internal validation. Like I need to like myself. I need to be proud of myself, but it's not so much about the people around me. And I think that is really beautiful. Just like looking back on, I was so desperate for like people to see me and to see me as like someone that's cool or good or smart. And now I feel like I know that I am those things. So all I need is myself to accept that.
That's really powerful. Thank you for sharing. I love how you worded that. That kind of leads right into the next question, which is how do you use the Enneagram in your day-to-day life, or when do you see it coming up and being relevant?
I think for me, even though I just said I don't need external validation, but when I'm at like a low point where I'm like, okay, I'm being really self-reflective. I'm like, okay, why did I just act that way? I think it's nice to have that validation of like, okay, this is kind of part of my personality. This is how I function. This is why I function. And it's nice to just give a name, to give a label, to say, this is that, and I'm okay with myself from that. And that's really helpful. Even like, So I'm on my clinical rotations right now. Every day I'm meeting new people. I'm interacting with different people. Interacting with different personalities. And sometimes I look at people and I wish that I was as blank as them. I wish I was as smart as them. I wish I was as bubbly as them. I wish I could talk to people the way that these people are talking to people. And I think with an Enneagram, it's just a good, nice, balanced validation to just say, maybe that's just not the way I am, and that's okay. I'm not a type 4. I'm not a type 8. I can just be my type 3 and then just be okay with that.
Any specific ways you're able to tune into that in yourself when you're like, oof, I'm seeing myself comparing or seeking validation?
I think that comes with that higher, like I had mentioned, how I feel a little bit more mature and I feel a little bit more developed than I did when I was younger, when I was constantly comparing myself to others and I was constantly just trying to one up people, even if it wasn't in public, it was just on my own. And I think that comes with a lot of maturity, that frontal lobe development, therapy, but just that like recognition of like, just when I catch myself feeling self-conscious or when I catch myself comparing, just like having that quick, like, just voice in my head, just that voice, that just like reassurance of just like, okay, everything's okay. I'm okay. And that comes with the Enneagram because I do feel, I don't love putting myself in boxes, but I do feel like I align very, very much so even today with that achiever mindset where I can be confident in who I am and not really require the validation from the people around me. And that is just a really nice reminder of like, okay, I'm just fine just where I am. And that's okay.
Thanks for sharing. It sounds like you've definitely done a lot of work in that space to be able
Oh
to
yeah.
get to that
Oh
point.
yeah.
So next question is, what is something people often get wrong or don't understand about you?
Ooh. I feel like in medical school, I definitely sell myself short a little bit on like what I do on a day-to-day basis. I feel like my life is hectic, but it's my normal, so it's just fine. Like I have a different schedule every single month. I interact with different people every single month. And to me, that's fine and normal, but I do feel like I operate just at like a different level, not like a higher level, but it's just, I feel like my mind is just like so caught up in the things that I'm doing that I think it is possible that people get it wrong that I just like I'm not in tune with my emotions. I think that's a really big thing is like sometimes you can shut your emotions off and just be done with it. You can move on. I'm in the emergency room now and we've just had just like a few really tough cases. And, if you work in medicine, you know what this is like, that you have a really tough patient. You have to walk out of that room and you have to just pretend like nothing happened. You have to pretend and walk into another patient's room, completely different thing, and just pretend that that initial thing didn't happen. And I think you can get in a misconception that people who are like that, who work in the medical field, who are physicians, who are nurses, who are anything in between, that they don't really feel those things, they don't have those emotions. And I think that gets a lot with achievers as well. You assume that they're just on and on and on to the next thing, moving on. But you have to have those big emotions. That's something that came with a lot of my development is you have to have big emotions. You have to feel them and you have to take them as they are, deal with them, and then move on, or else they'll catch up with you. So I think that's a big common misconception is that you don't really feel, or people think that you don't feel, but you feel big. You feel big feelings. You just have to figure out what to do with them.
Wow, that's really beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people appreciate you sharing that too from that perspective. And then last question for you, Katie, is if we were to see the world through your eyes, what would we see?
Ooh, I think this is a tough question. I think it's potential, and I think it's something that I'm constantly working on myself is not seeing myself as the center of the world, which sounds dumb, but I am worried about what's going on tomorrow for me, what's going on next year for me, what's the next step in my career and my goals. And it is tough to step out of that and see that there is a world going on around me. There's other people who matter. There's other people's goals that matter. So, I mean, if you were to see the world through my lens, you would see my life and my world, which I think is that's a good question because it's a good reminder that that's not what's the most important. So I see potential. I see potential of what my life could be, what my family's life could be, what my future looks like, and then also kind of what the world could be in the way that I seek to impact it. But again, that's very self-centered of me, and that's something I'm working on.
No, I think a lot of people probably relate to that, right? I was just walking this morning with a friend having coffee, and we were talking about that. It's like so easy to see the world through just our lens and think that we're the center of everything, right?
Yeah.
So I appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing that, because
my husband has
tough.
a hard time with that because he will bring up my politics to me. And I'm very involved in politics, but not in like the way that he is. And they'll bring up things, they'll bring up who's doing what and why they're doing it. And I'm like, I can't care about that. Like, I am so focused on this, I cannot care about the things that you're caring about right now. And that's something that causes me to really stop and reflect that, like, maybe I can care, but I'm also like so tunnel vision, so focused on just next steps that it is tough to care, to take into the interest or take into the just like take a stake in what's going on around the world. And it's just tough. And it's always like a gentle reminder of there's stuff going on that we need to be involved in.
Great. Well, thank you, Katie. It was such a joy to just hear your perspective as a type 3. Thank you for sharing with just vulnerability and authenticity. I could really feel it, and I hope everyone watching and listening could too.